Ah, Bertha, a lovely short-lived series from the 80s and a favourite of mine. It is what we will be looking at today, as this show deserves so much love and respect for how wonderful it is. So I invite you to my review of Bertha. Let's get into it. Woodland Animations was a small British stop-motion company which was founded by animator, director, producer and writer Ivor Woods in the 70s. The company produced many charming series such as Postman Pat, Paddington Bear, The Wombos, Gran, Charlie Chalk and of course, the wonderful machine that is Bertha. The show was created by Eric Charles and Stephen Fleurs, who wrote all the episodes. The show only lasted one series, airing from 1985 to 1986, with repeats being shown until 1998 on the BBC. With only 13 episodes. This was quite usual in the case of shows like Bagpuss, Tugs and Mr. Ben, where only they had 13 episodes each. It was meant to be a replacement for Postman Pat until Pat got his own second series in 1996. The voice cast for the series included Roy Kinnear, probably best known as Veruca Salt's father in the film Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. He voiced all the male characters, while Shelley Walker did all the female voices. The music was composed by Brian Daly, who did the music for the original Postman Pat. Each episode ran for 15 minutes. The show follows the daily jobs and lives of the workers at Spottiswoode & Co., a factory known for manufacturing different types of toys including puzzles, building blocks, garden gnomes and other types of products. With the help from the Green Machine herself, Bertha. She's an old but useful factory machine who works with all the human workers to get the jobs done on time and is very helpful in cases of emergencies. Joined beside her is Ted, no, not Ted Glenn, who's in charge of running Bertha. He looks out and sees the best in her. Roy, who is a young lad working at Spottiswoode & Co., who usually helps around with Ted as his assistant. There is also Nell and Flo, a duo who also do packing and stacking in the factory, helping store things in boxes and shipping them away. Mrs. Tubb, who is a tea lady for the factory and is also in charge of the first aid. Panjit, who works on the forklift and helps to move things around. Mr. Wilmake, who's the manager who runs Spottiswoode & Co. Mr. Sprott, who's in charge of designing the products they make. Miss McClackety, who is Mr. Wilmake's secretary. Tracy Jones, who is Mr. Sprott's assistant. And her robot Tom, that Tracy designs to help around the factory. Then of course there's Mr. Duncan. Yeah. Basically the party pooper of the show. The first episode of the show is a great painting job. The workers find a puzzle with a missing piece to it, which results in them trying to find the right piece by looking in all the boxes they have. Meanwhile, one of the offices in the factory is getting decorated, with Mr. Sprott inventing a new paint machine to get the walls done. However, Tracy has a go at making her own idea, which is a robot named Tom. Mr. Sprott's creation ends up getting out of control and eventually, Tom gets the job of painting the room. Honestly, a nice episode to begin the series off with the introduction of Tom. I love the mother and son relation between Bertha and him, it's really cute. The second episode is The Windmills. The factory is manufacturing some toy windmill money boxes until after testing it by putting some coins in the windmill, they realise they cannot get the money back out of it, since Mr. Sprott never designed a key for it. Meanwhile, on her lunch break, Flo loses her purse with all her money in it. Also meanwhile, Mr. Sprott designs a new money box, and he is soon called into the manager's office and he is told that the windmill money box has a problem with it. He then explains that there is a way to get the money out, you just need to wait until the money box is full. Panjit then comes to the rescue in the end when he uses his last coin to fill up the money box that everyone put their coins into, and the windmill opens. Everyone decides to be generous and let Flo have the money since she lost her purse. A nice episode. I love that the characters care for one another, especially since they give Flo the money that comes out the windmill box since she lost her purse. A really good episode. Mouse in the works. Bertha is manufacturing some Jack-in-the-Box toys, whilst the workers are doing their usual jobs. Until Panjit notices some strange holes in the boxes, so soon everyone is alerted about a mouse being on the loose in the factory, and Mr. Sprott decides to make a mouse trap, which doesn't work. Roy suggests Tom to make something from Bertha that will capture the mouse, so Bertha makes a box for the mouse, and when they capture it, Flo decides to take it home and keep it as a pet. Quite a hilarious episode to watch. The best machine competition. Bertha in this episode is making spinning tops, and Roy finds a new way of packing them by spinning them around to make it much more easier for him. Meanwhile, Mr. Willmake wants Mr. Sprott to make a new toy to enter a competition. Mr. Duncan wants it to be made by a new factory machine instead of Bertha, but the others think it should be made by Bertha. It doesn't work out with a new factory machine, so they try it on Bertha, and Mr. Duncan is proven wrong that Bertha is a really hard working machine. A good episode, and by the way, Bertha is God. Tom gets lost. Bertha is producing some building blocks, whilst Tom's tasked with the job of giving Pandya a note to say that they've run out of boxes. Tom gets his circuits messed up after touching a magnet, which causes him to get lost and act out of control in many ways. He takes the note around to other people, and some of their items get attached to the metalness on Tom. The others wonder where Tom is, and when they presume he is missing, everyone sets out to look for him, but Bertha gets upset about him being missing. Eventually Tom finds Mr. Sprott's office, and Tracy finds him. She realises that his circuits have been messed around with metal, and she decides to take the things off of him. Tracy goes to alert the other people that Tom's been found, and everyone's happy, including Bertha. The Flying Bears. It's a hot day at Spottiswoode & Co, and some blow-up bears are being made. Tom uses the big door as a flap to cool everyone down. They have some struggles when the bears begin to become bigger, and they try to sort it out, but Bertha ends up making a huge one. Roy decides to fill it up with air, which soon starts flying everywhere after Roy lets go of it and gets it stuck on the roof. It causes a lot of funny events to happen around the factory, and the chaos ends when it runs out of air. But positively, it causes a nice breeze that makes everyone feel better, and it cools them down. A good episode. The Tea Nurse. Bertha is working on watering cans but eventually stops working and the lever keeps going off. Ted assumes something's wrong with Bertha, so he goes to Mr. Sprott's office to discuss it. Meanwhile, Nell, Flo and Roy are sorting out boxes, and Nell gets a cut on her finger from one of the boxes. Tom gets sent a job to go find Mrs. Tubb and tell her about Nell's sore finger. Mrs. Tubb puts on her nurse kit, and she soon arrives to help out Nell. She puts a plaster on her finger. Ted then gets the idea to use a plastering tape to hold Bertha's lever down so she continue working, which works in the end. More speed, less work. Whilst Mr. Willmake is away at a meeting, Mr. Duncan decides to do a motion and study test on the workers and also Bertha. He spies on what everyone else is doing, writing it down and then checking the time on his clipboard. He decides to report the motion study to the other workers and is disappointed in the speed and time in the works. So Mr. Duncan decides to make changes to the factory and to close Bertha down, which causes the other workers to protest. Mr. Willmake comes back from his meeting and asks Mr. Duncan what's going on. Mr. Duncan explains he's done a motion study on everyone and notices the factory is running slow. But just as he's about to show the clipboard to Mr. Willmake, Bertha luckily snatches it in time and hides the evidence from him. Mr. Willmake tells everyone that they're allowed to go back to their jobs and Bertha is allowed to continue operating, which makes everyone happy. The last 5 episodes from the series include The Big Order, The Burglars, Bertha's Birthday, The Big Sneeze, and Tom's New Friend. I wasn't able to go into full detail about all the episodes because it was just too much for me, but at least I was able to go through 8 of them. Also, I love the fact that in the episode The Burglars, the models for the burglars are just Ted Glenn and Alf Thompson's models. Also, I'd love to just take a minute and appreciate how amazing the songs are in the series.
As it helps their work along.
Hacking and stacking, no, we don't believe in slacking. We're Nell and Flo, and we're always on the go.
Electronically talking. T-O-M, Bertha's robot son. It's super since he's been here, helping everything along. T-O-M.
And also this banger of a tune. As for merchandise with the show, there are some DVDs, books and VHS tapes, though they're kind of tricky to come by. I also love how just funny, humorous and jokey the series gets, with a lot of funny shenanigans happening throughout the factory and just general funny moments in the show. And that's been my overall review on Bertha. It might not have lasted long, and did not get the huge attention like Postman Pat did. But honestly, Bertha is a great series to sit down and watch, with lovable characters, charming stories and really good music. I would definitely recommend this to people who love watching classic 80s kids shows. I'm so happy there's a fan base for the show because Bertha is so underrated and not a lot of many people talk about it these days. So it's good to see it's got some fans out there with some amazing work. And that's about it, I guess. Thank you for watching this video, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.